reason why we called it the TRIPP was after that visit to the Oculus office, I had all the VR headsets. I had the Rift, I had HTC Vive, and so people would come over to my house all the time and say, "Can we try the VR?" Like my neighbors were coming over, because you have to remember it was very new, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you needed a really high-powered computer, a gaming rig to do it, and you had the lighthouse sensors and the whole
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah, I
So
remember.
it wasn't easy for people to get access to. And every time anyone came out of that headset, hands down, they all said, "Wow, that was a trip."
Yeah.
And that's what inspired the name TRIPP.
Hi everyone, welcome to the All Things XR podcast. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of hosting Nanea Reeves, CEO of TRIPP. Hi Nanea.
Hey, how are you? It's good to see you.
Thanks very much. It's good to see you too. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your company, TRIPP?
Yeah, I can tend to ramble, so feel free to jump in and make it more conversational. But TRIPP is a wellness platform that's AI powered. We're available on multiple platforms, including all of the VR headsets, scaling out into some of the newer AI and AR headsets. We also have a mobile app that is amazing, that's available on Android and iOS. And very soon, we're going to launch a phone number that you can call and speak to our AI agent directly. And the name of the agent is Kokua, which is the Hawaiian word for support and help. And I'm Hawaiian, so it's a word that means a lot to me on many levels.
Awesome, awesome. So, can you share what inspired you to found TRIPP? What was the initial idea?
I've worked in the games industry for a long time. I was running tech at a mobile game company in the very early days of mobile, and we had the great fortune of being acquired by Electronic Arts, and I ran EA Online for many years, and loved working there. I loved the games industry. And after I left EA, I went to a company called Gaikai, which was a cloud gaming company that Sony PlayStation ended up acquiring. It's the platform, the cloud streaming platform that powers the PlayStation Now subscription. But at that acquisition, there was a bunch of people on the Gaikai team who went to go start Oculus, and they to work with Palmer Luckey, specifically my friend Brendan Uribe, who became the founding CEO. And so many of us at Gaikai made small to medium to large investments in the Oculus team. I wish I had made a much larger one than I did. But what that did, I was very excited about the concept of VR. And when they had finally come up with a version of the device prior to the commercial launch, they invited me, my cousin Keanu Reeves, the actor,
Oh,
and
really?
my co-founding partner, Zach Norman, who's no longer with the company, but very foundational to our early days. We all went down to the Oculus office, and also my late husband, Vic, joined us as well. And this was over 10 years ago. And it was before Facebook bought them. And we tried it was the early Crescent Bay demo that was the internal name, and they had the Dream Deck demo. And a lot of the experiences that they shared with us that day were designed to scare you. But the feeling was so visceral, and it defied logic, because I knew I was in this conference room in Orange County, and yet my body was reacting as if I were on the edge of the scariest cliff in the world and interacting with aliens and dinosaurs. And I kept thinking on the ride home, if you could generate fear that quickly, what other feeling could you make someone feel using the power of immersion? And that planted the seed. It was a couple months after that office visit to the Oculus office in Orange County that my husband was suddenly diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. And we were told we had 8 months together. He was gone within 8 weeks. And it was a
I'm so
journey
sorry.
that, many people go through the loss of a loved one. And I could see for myself and for Vic, my late husband, that our meditation practice really helped us go through, navigate a very challenging time for each of us individually, of course, but also as a family and a community. And after he passed, I kept thinking about that moment back at the Oculus office. And as I was thinking about how to rebuild my life, I really wanted to lean into answering that question a little bit better, really around the idea of, could we create experiences that could help people and be beneficial? And I think sometimes, like, those life-changing experiences, they break your heart, but they also break you wide open to kind of make some big changes. And in that contemplative space, I also knew it was time for me to be a CEO. And I really wanted to bring my own idea forth. And it was answering that call that, got me to lean into exploring this concept further, which now, it's been about 7 years later, because I went through grief for a bit before I got to the stage where I was even thinking about rebuilding my life going forward without Vic. And I'm, so proud of the work that our team has done. It's been an amazing exploratory journey, though, for sure. We haven't gotten everything right, and we're definitely not perfect. We're still a small team, and I think we're 23 people now, and building great stuff together. So I'm excited about even the next 5 years as well.
Awesome, awesome. So, can you talk a bit about the Trip's actual product? Who's the target user and audience?
Well, we really didn't know initially because there really wasn't anything comparable to it. And we always knew that we set out with the goal of, could we create experiences in a way that would detect how you feel and then adapt to how you're feeling. So it was always the goal to have it be AI powered, which is why we built our platform a specific way that would um, allow us to update the application in real time without you having to download a new executable and update the client, right? And so a lot of that framework was what we spent the first year and a half of our company building. And also, when we went live, we had bookended every experience with asking you how you felt. So we would start to collect the data to eventually train the AI interface that we've created that is starting to power more real time occurrences. But, it was very thoughtfully laid out. The reason why we launched on the Quest and on PlayStation VR sooner than later was that was the only place there were VR users. And in order to collect the data that we needed, we had to go where the users were. So we weren't picky about who our users were, but there were a lot of people who made assumptions that the people who would love Trip would be soccer moms and suburban housewives who did yoga, and that was about it. And even the Oculus team wasn't that enthusiastic about us launching on there. It was really more of, I think, a favor to me. But they were really surprised at the usage we got, especially after the pandemic lockdown occurred. And so today, our audience is 60% male.
Mhm.
And, so contrary to the assumptions of many people early on who thought our audience would skew more female, like a lot of wellness apps. And the age range is about 18 to 44. However, I will say VR devices are shared devices still in the household. Not everybody has their own headset yet.
Exactly.
And so we do know that families do, you know, use our app. We know there are a lot of younger kids using our app. And the audience I really love are our elderly people. We have a lot of boomers using our app. They're some of our most loyal, longtime users. And I was just talking about this yesterday with some people that there's this tendency to dismiss seniors as being non-technical and unreachable with technology. And I don't think that's the case. I mean, if you think about it, Gen X is getting older now, and we all grew up playing video games. You know, we were the first generation of video game players, and
Exactly.
we all started running the companies. So as we start to get older, that makes sense. But with the boomers, I think it's really important for them to also feel like they're being exposed to new technologies and they find it really exciting. And so they'll tend to be very loyal customers. So,
Awesome. So, can you walk us through an experience of Trip? What do I see when I start the app, and how's the
sure.
experience?
Yeah. And I'll talk to you about each platform and the way we think about it as
Awesome.
layered wellness, you know, how we can support you all throughout your day in different forms. And so we did launch on the hardest one first, which is the fully immersive environments. And
Yeah,
we have a full catalog of experiences that are organized by focusing your attention. A 7-minute experience. It has a little mini game. It's repetitive by design because one of the challenges when you're working with a mindfulness practice is how do you find something new with the the consistency is actually where the benefits come from, right? And
exactly.
so we have focus and calm has more deeper meditation content on a topic that you can choose from. Our sleep category is very popular. There's bedtime stories, there's yoga nidra meditations, and ambient music. We have Moby created some sleep music that's in our app. And then we have a category that's one of our top categories. It's called Ascend, and it's a little of the trippier, fractal, kind of psychedelic shape
I see.
geometry experiences, and people really love those. Um, we have some other cool features in our app. We just recently launched, well, we created a whole pass through mixed reality section of our app called Sanctum. And when you use our app for 3 days within the same week, we give you an augmented reality interactive, we call them gifts, and you can engage with those gifts in your physical space. And it's kind of like transform yourself, you transform the world around you kind of concept. And Sanctum is very popular. It's also a key driver of engagement and long term retention in our app. And most recently, we launched Kokua, which is the name of our AI in VR,
Hmm.
and we added a whole voice library of 21 new voices, including ASMR, and we'll add more as we see which ones people seem to really like. And just a few weeks ago, we launched an amazing feature where you can change the voice of the AI to your own voice.
Uh-huh.
So that's our
Awesome.
VR catalog. Is we add new stuff, new topics all the time, but now you can start to generate your own audio guidance specifically to how you're feeling in the moment. On our mobile app, you can upload your own personal images into the focus and calm trips. So they show up randomly. And it really, I always find it's kind of magical. I never know who's going to show up in my VR space, but that happens through the mobile app. And then we have all this amazing audio content of really cool lo-fi beats, chill music, ambient music that have different vibes. Some have sound frequencies to help you focus or get into a sleep state more. We have sleep stories, and we have Kokua, our AI, on there that we're starting to expand more and more features. And you'll see in a couple of weeks, we're going to add the ability to earn what we call aura points. And there's some cool things that we're adding that you can do with aura points. And as I mentioned, soon you'll be able to call Kokua directly on the phone. So
Uh-huh.
all of this gives us the ability to support you with just audio and in a conversation, but also to create a space through the mobile app for foundation for meditations throughout the day. And then when you want to go into a full immersive retreat, we're there for you with our full VR experience.
Awesome, awesome. So, one of the things that the name Trip reminds me of is psychedelics. Is there any relation and why you
We're
chose the Trip name?
Well, trip also means to a journey, right? A journey
Yeah,
within. And the real reason why we called it the trip, called it trip, was after that visit to the Oculus office. I had all the VR headsets. I had the Rift, I had HTC Vive, and so people would come over to my house all the time and say, "Can we try the VR?" Like my neighbors were coming over, because you have to remember it was very new, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly,
And you needed a really high-powered computer, a gaming rig to do it, and you had the lighthouse sensors and the whole thing.
exactly. Yeah, I remember.
So it wasn't easy for people to get access to. And every time anyone came out of that headset, hands down, they all said, "Wow, that was a trip."
Yeah.
And that's what inspired the name Trip. So it was really this idea of being able to retreat. Now, as we investigated design approaches, we found, we architected, rather than like trying to simulate nature or reality, we thought, how can we stimulate different responses?
Hmm.
And there was some research that we saw that the brain found geometric patterns very pleasing and calming, our response to like fractals in nature as well. And we incorporated sound frequencies. So our goal was not really to ever simulate psychedelics. Obviously, there's when you do a psychedelic experience, in a way, it is an immersion and a different relationship to reality. And VR in and of itself has some of those attributes, but you can always take it off. You can stop it. And I like having that agency.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we
me too.
never want to be a replacement for any therapeutic mental health treatments.
Hmm.
And I do think that there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm in a lot of areas around how to support your mental health. But for us, we want to be thoughtful and never thought of as, a replacement for professional or
I
medical
see.
support. Yeah.
I see. I see. Awesome. You mentioned the experience as being able to focus for several minutes on
Mhm.
an experience. How do you see the necessity of wellness, especially in this age of short Instagram and TikTok videos, where our brain is trained to just have a very, very narrow attention span?
Mhm. Yeah, it's my opinion, and I don't have research on hand to validate this, but I do believe our brains are changing. At least anecdotally, I can see how my attention is very horizontal as opposed to vertical. So even the act of reading a book is very different for me now than it was when I was a kid and would escape
Yeah,
into
me
books.
too.
And I'm also
Even watching
realized,
movies.
yeah, even watching movies, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm on my phone, and I'm not sure that it's a bad thing. I don't know if it's a good thing or not. I just know that I've seen my own brain change through this. And the fact is that I am reading and ingesting information all day long. The interesting thing, when you are in a virtual reality environment, it's really hard to interact with anything else but the
Yeah,
space. So, in a way, it's a very native use case to use a virtual immersion in the way that we're doing it to support your well being. Because the first thing we can do, no matter what is happening in your life and in your head, that when you get into an environment that makes you go, oh, wow, for a moment, you get a respite from that internal dialogue that might be happening, and your awareness is very present. And I have a long time meditation practice, and to achieve that through meditation can take many, many years. And
yeah.
it's a very fleeting state. But for whatever reason, I noticed it right away in VR that you could bring that state of present awareness very quickly. And that was exciting to me because I don't even think we've really tapped into the, all the possibilities of how we can help someone with responding to them. If you think about it, a lot of the TRIPP catalog experiences are coming to you. Eventually, can we start to build out our AI platform where the experience is coming from you?
Awesome.
That's the goal. That's the North Star. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, how do you see the impact and effect of AI, especially in terms of customizing the experiences? You mentioned cloning users' voice, which is very,
Yeah,
very
we have that
interesting.
live now. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
Awesome.
that was based on some research I was seeing that, therapists will often have somebody record their own voice reading positive affirmations to help them kind of shift their inner dialogue. And it activates, according to one study I read, the self-referential parts of the brain that allow you to receive that positive input differently. There's a little more trust because it's your own voice, even though it might sound awkward at
No,
first.
no,
Many of
no.
us don't like hearing
But we talk to ourselves all the time. It's
all the
like
time. And it's usually
mimicking our
very
inner
negative.
voice. Yeah, usually.
Yeah. I mean, if we're honest, it's a lot of it is that person's such an idiot and how could I be so dumb? As hard as we are on other people, we're usually the inner voice is twice as hard, if not harder, many times more on ourselves. And when you are in like a situation like what I was going through with grief because of life circumstances, or you are dealing with different mental health issues, that can be really negative and nonstop. And so, how do we help people? Give them a little break from that. I think of it like a retreat, right?
Awesome. And have you also explored integrating trips experiences with other input data from other gadgets, like, for example, Apple Watch or
Hmm.
BCIs, especially real powerful?
Yes,
Have you also explored that?
we have. We did a proof of concept with Qualcomm on their Snapdragon AR glasses and integrated with an Android Wear watch. We took the person's heartbeat in real time and adjusted the experience. It was a little mini game to focus your attention. And as your heartbeat increased, we would show you that so you could breathe through it and slow it down. So you're getting real time feedback. That was the beginning of us thinking about how we could incorporate more signals. We do detect your breath through the gyroscope on the headset. We have a couple of experiences
Awesome.
live doing that. We built our own AI models for that. That's very small parameter set that filters out other head movements. But there's a head moving pattern that we can detect that matches to inhaling and exhaling. And so our goal in the future is to continue to evolve more. There's the potential for us to analyze the quality of the valence in your voice itself. So independent of us already detecting how you say you feel through the semantic input, we can also take the qualities of the voice. And, to be clear, we don't have to record those properties and they never have to go onto our servers. We can do it in real time and adjust. So the benefit's always to the user. And we try to think very thoughtfully about how we use data and secure it in ways that, are safer for the user.
Awesome. And from all the ways we can experience trip from different gadgets from and with AI and etc. Which one do you think is the most complete one, and which one do you yourself prefer?
I use them all for different things. So I mean, obviously, we've been doing the VR one the longest, and I just love it when I'm in there. As CEO, I'll look at things like, oh, that could be better. Oh, that loading time, right? And then I
Yeah.
get to the end where I see pictures from my life, and I'm fully immersed in the experience after, just even being in there 5 minutes of the time, being totally critical. In the last 2 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is so amazing. I feel so blessed to be able
Hmm.
to work on this. It's a blessing. And the interactions, though, like this morning I got up very early. I couldn't sleep, so I got up at 3:30 and I went downstairs to meditate. And I checked in with Koku on the mobile app, and it was
Awesome.
beautiful. And then I did a couple of the lessons that they had, and I stayed meditating with the mobile app content for about 40 minutes before I did a physical workout, and it was a great start to my days. So I felt very supported by the mobile app. But I love talking to the AI agent. I can speak to it in most languages, even though I'm not. I tested on everyone I know who can speak a different language. Say, oh, speak Arabic to it, or
Uh,
speak. So it's been fun to see the technology now is moving so quickly with AI, and the way we interface with AI services is very unique. And so it allows us to integrate any in, and that includes that we could create a bio signal data set as well. But again, like we separate out any personal identifiable information from any of that stuff, just to, be thoughtful about it.
Awesome. And are there any clinical trials or any studies on the effect of experiencing and working with TRIPS app and how it affects my, for example,
Yeah,
mental well-being?
yeah. So we don't make any therapeutic claims, and I do believe that there needs to be a tremendous amount of evidence before you can say TRIP is having this effect on
Hmm.
people. However, we do have a lot of researchers have picked up our app without, sometimes, many times, we don't even know. I just found a study online using TRIP with adolescents, as well as comparing it to several other mindfulness focused mental wellness applications on the Meta Quest device. And we came across very well in that study. It was a small study,
Awesome.
but it was, so I read all the research, and Some of it is designed better than others. There's one that was done out of the Augsburg Research Hospital in Germany that was published on nature.com. It was with the University of Copenhagen. And we have been working with the New York Office of Mental Health for a while, and they have applied for an NIH grant for working with schizophrenics. And recently, NASA completed a study at Palmer Station in Antarctica, and it was several years long, many different cohorts. But that was a really
Awesome.
cool moment for our team because we worked with the researchers to sideload TRIPP onto the devices because the Wi-Fi is a bit dodgy in Antarctica. So we had to kind of make a special build that was independent of Wi-Fi and ship them out to Vandenberg Air Force, where they went on a Air Force station, and they went to on a boat down to Antarctica, which was pretty exciting. Yeah,
Awesome, awesome.
yeah.
Congratulations. So, Nenia, you mentioned the point in your life where you decided to become a CEO. Looking back, what were the challenges and what were the lessons you learned in your role as a CEO and seeing yourself evolving through the years?
Yeah, it's a something I think about a lot. There's to anybody who's an wannabe entrepreneur or an entrepreneur or someone with an idea that they want to bring forth. I think the thing that really helped me get supported was that I had been part of a few teams previously, startup teams that had success. And that helped me have a lot of confidence knowing that I could get funding for my own idea. So I think it's incredibly difficult for anyone, independent of their gender, their ethnicity, anyone without a track record is going to have a hard time getting appointments and getting support for their idea. And so one of the biggest hacks that someone can do is get on a team that might be like post Series A, but they look like they've got product market fit already, and they look like they're going to hit a home run, and they have been supported by really good investors. And you being part of that team will do more for supporting your own ideas down the road than anything.
I
Because
see.
most venture capital firms, they want to mitigate risk, right? So they're looking at the timing of your idea first and foremost. Is it too early, or is the timing, does it seem like the right time? And they want to understand how big can the idea get. But they also look at you and say, is this person capable of executing on this idea? And if you're not technical, you might need to have a technical co-founder to help make them feel more confident that you can execute, right? Timing's the biggest risk. And not every idea should be venture backed. So that's the other thing. Some ideas you can get some early traction and get an understanding of your revenue and go get loans. They might be
I
more
see.
suitable than venture capital. So those were like just thinking about how to get an idea up and running. I went into this idea knowing I could get funding
Hmm.
because I had a good reputation as an operator. What I underestimated was the we were a little like the timing on VR, it still hasn't shown up, right? So I feel like we should have really evolved our mobile feature set much earlier than we did. That was something I wish it just opens us up to a bigger market. We're number one, I believe, in our category, at least.
Awesome.
If you look on the MetaQuest bestsellers, top 50 list, we're the only wellness product in there. And, there's
That's
two
great.
fitness apps and our app, and the rest are like games, entertainment. So I'm really proud of that, but it's still, not as big anywhere near the size of the market of the mobile audience. And the final point I'll make on this that I really underestimated, because I had been CTO, Chief Technology Officer, Chief Product Officer, Chief Operating Officer. I had been in the C-suite for a while, so I thought the transition to CEO would be somewhat horizontal, because when you're at that C level, you're all building together, right? And uh, I didn't have any idea how lonely it would be.
Uh-huh.
The gap between COO and CEO is huge, or CFO or CTO, it's huge. And the buck really starts and stops with you. And you have to, as a startup, you don't have the luxury of taking a lot of time and making everyone feel heard. Sometimes you just have to come in and say, look, this is how we're going to get it done. And that doesn't always make you very popular. And especially as a wellness company, everybody thinks we're going to have 2-day work weeks, and it's, but we work
No way.
really hard, right? So, and I didn't expect the pandemic to show up. It's been in
Hmm.
the last 4 years, it's been a very challenging fundraising environment for any company,
Hmm.
especially one focused in VR. So all of these things are hard, and it's not for everyone. I will say that. Running a
Yeah,
company and being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. The chances of you failing are extremely high.
exactly.
And how do you keep your head in the game? I definitely do a lot of meditation and my own self care. I'm not always good at it, especially on the physical health side. Sleep gets disrupted with worry
Yeah.
and stress, and my go-to with stress is like I like carbs, so that's not good for my physical health at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. And over the years, how have you seen the VR market? What's your analysis of the current and the previous situation and the future state of VR market? What's your prediction?
I think that there's still a lot of reasons to be optimistic. VR, in and of itself, may not end up being mass market, but it's still an important medium. And I like to think of it. I think Google, with their Android XR announcement, really articulated it very well. And we're going to be a partner. Uh,
Awesome.
we're
Congratulations.
getting our app is ready. It's going through getting ready for launch, and we're very excited about it. But the way they articulated that, you have your laptop and you have your mobile, and there are certain things like as soon as I got my mobile, I didn't give up my laptop. There are some things like looking at spreadsheet and doing a lot of deep presentation work that I don't do on my mobile. There are different modes. And so if you think of AR and AI smart glasses, and then you have goggles for the deep immersion, right? And we also know that training in fully immersive environments, the brain retains the information differently. So there'll be specific use cases for full immersion, and ours as this kind of mindful, supportive retreat space, we think is a very important use case. And but we can augment that, with the glasses that you might be wearing more throughout the day, all throughout the day, with augmented overlays or data overlays or audio assists in a similar
I see.
fashion to how we look at the phone. So I think the biggest shift we'll see is maybe this becomes a lot of the compute power. And instead of spending all day like this, heads down, we can start to engage with the data coming in ways while we're looking out into the world. And I think
Hmm.
it's going to drive a tremendous amount of innovation. So I think of it more like the layers of reality that way.
Great, great. And how do you see TRIPP in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think, heading towards that North Star, you're in your glasses or goggles or just even, voice through some uh, interface, whether it's ambient or not, and you are asked how you feel, and we render the experience exactly based on how you feel. Now, my dream would be that we can detect that you're stressed through maybe seeing some changes in your eye or some kind of brain sensing interface. And we can proactively and preemptively say, you need to take a little break. And we bring our magical breath particles, into your physical space and guide you through a supportive breathing exercise and a little guidance to remind you of what's important to you in this moment to help you. And, going back to that very foundational experience for me that asked me, what do I want to do with my life? I would love to be able to better support people through those moments where life is just so painfully difficult. And you may not have any kind of mental health issue, but life in and of itself can just be so hard at
Yeah.
times for all of us. And I want TRIPP to really be there in a way that you feel fully supported in that moment and really present. And that doesn't mean that we have to walk through life always happy and joyful. There can be ways to use these technologies to get someone to connect more deeply to something like the last moment of someone's life, where you can be really present with them and not overwhelmed with emotion, but just really present in the experience. And I think when we can navigate our lives like that ultimately we will be happier. We will be bringing more meaning and purpose into our daily actions. Because all we really do is have today, and many of us spend many moments throughout today in regret for what occurred in the past, stuck in trauma, or in fear about the future. And,
Exactly.
if you just take a moment to stop and really look at what do I have right now in this moment, right? I'm sitting here, I'm speaking to you. I've got my little dog down here at my feet. I have a nice day for the rest of the
Hmm.
day, and can I just be present no matter what's falling apart in my life? And
I
this
see.
helps us show up better as partners, as children, to our parents who might be going through challenges, as
Hmm.
citizens, as leaders, colleagues, bosses, etc. We can be better in the world, and it has a huge impact. So I want to show that ripple effect with the augmented reality, right? Like, take care of yourself, and it does have an impact on everyone and everything around you.
Awesome. Thank you. And where can our listeners find out more about you and TRIPP?
So I'm on Twitter, I guess, or X, formerly known as Twitter,
Still
at
Twitter for me.
Nanea. I'm
Yeah.
on Instagram at Naninja, which used to be my old gamer tag. and and you can go to trip.com and interact with our AI support agent on there, and they will get me. We look at all the messages coming in.
Awesome. I will surely put links on the description of the podcast. And
Great. Thank you.
sure. And then, yeah, it was great having you on the All Things XR podcast. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm so glad we can make this happen. Thank you so much.